Okay, so this video that I'm trying to make for you is for parents to have the information that the students have about some additional practice that's available to them through khanacademy.org. So when you have your student go to khanacademy.org, once it eventually loads, excuse me, they should be able to log in. Their login information, everything will look slightly different because I am, as a teacher, not a student account, but they should be logged in. If not, they'll just click the login button up here. But once they do that, there's a button here that says courses. There's all kinds of Khan Academy resources, but you just want them to go over here to where it says test prep. Once they've clicked on that, there's several things that they're going to see on this main dashboard that's presented to them. The first is what I'm going to show you should not be what your student sees. So mine says to sign into collegeboard.org. If they were at school on the half days, those early dismissal days, they should have been working with the teacher to get their SAT or their PSAT information linked to this College Board account. If they did not do that, they really need to do so, because then it will show their current skills based off of their previous tests. And I'll show you in a second, it'll give them practices based off of how they scored. Because if your student scored extremely well, there's some practice that they're going to say, you don't need to waste your time with. But if your student missed some of the more basic questions, then they're going to make sure that they give practice based off of that. So they really need to make sure that this is not showing up on their screen, that they have already signed in with College Board to link their account. And if they have issues with that, their math teacher can help them with that as well. But there's a lot of things on this Khan Academy website, specifically practice. Mine is showing that there are diagnostic quizzes, but it's also showing there are all of these math practices that students can answer. So some of them will be, again, based off of their previous test scores, but once they pick one to practice with, you'll see a question. They'll have it written up similar because this is linked with the makers of the SAT test. Some of them will be really similar to how they're going to see it on the actual SAT. And it's okay if students don't know how to do all of it. We're not expecting them to be perfect at it. That's why it's practice. There are some resources up here, such as, for example, a hint where it could just be like, oh, you need to set C of Q instead of C of 0, whatever. There are hints on there that hopefully will make sense to your student who's in the middle of practicing this math stuff. But then there's an actual video that when they click on it, you can watch somebody walk through a different example, but a related one, so that they can figure out, oh, if this is what I did in this problem, maybe this is what I need to do for the one that I'm on. So there are practices, there are explanations, there are videos, and then once they answer something, it will show, oh, nope, you were wrong. Here's the correct answer. And then it'll kind of go through why that is the correct answer. So they'll show at the bottom here that, oh, I used the hint when I answered that. So if I don't use the hint on one, they can show me that I was wrong, and they'll keep track at the bottom here of how many you get correct and how many you answer incorrectly. But it's supposed to be practice on things that will be representative of not only things that they need in the classroom, but definitely things that might show up on the SAT or the PSAT test. There are lots of resources that are on here. There's also a link for full tests. If your student is really serious about trying to make sure that they are fully prepared for it, these full tests are great practices. So they have all of these practice tests. They give them all the sections of it other than the essay, which they won't score for them. But when they click on it, it will just be what they see. Wait for it. What they see on the actual SAT test. So they'll have a passage for the reading section. They'll give them a timer because that's one thing students struggle with. And then once they finish the section, which hopefully they're not like me and they'll actually answer the questions, but once they do, they can take another test, and it will eventually score it once you finish all the sections. And again, I'm just flying through this, but ideally your student is taking the time to answer it. It'll show what their answers were. You can review the section, you can go back through it, but this is a resource that's really helpful for students. This test was one I've apparently already clicked through. It shows that I scored a 400, meaning I got zeros on everything. The lowest score for each section is a 200, not a 0. But it'll give you a score, it'll give your student a score, so they have something to practice, not just some generic, oh, I have some test that I have to take in April. They get an idea of what it's like. The other thing you could do at the bottom of the screen, I don't know if you've noticed, no matter what screen I've taken you to, it keeps showing create a schedule. Your student can create a schedule for practicing, So they can get email reminders. You can set the date of your test, which Alton High School will be taking it. I'm not seeing ours. That's strange. We're going to be taking it in April. It's on that slip of paper that hopefully we're given at parent-teacher conferences. But you could just set up, I would please like some emails sent to me. You can set up more information with it, but it's so that I don't want emailed that often, but even if you're practicing just occasionally, once or twice a week, that practice, they've shown to have data that shows that it will dramatically increase, has the potential to dramatically increase your SAT scores. So this is not just busy work. Students really need to focus in on this and realize that it fills in the holes, the gaps in what they don't understand, in addition to just being a great resource and helping them fully be prepared for what they're going to be taking in April.